Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Safety Net Responses, Maintaining and Strengthening Tax Credits to Reduce Poverty. We are excited to bring to you a group of expert presenters who will share some great information for you today. My name is James Butler, and I serve as one of the program specialists in the Self-Sufficiency Branch under the leadership and direction of Lisa Washington Thomas here in the Office of Family Assistance, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. So, way back in 2018, about 25 million workers received more than about 63 billion in EITC, which is Earned Income Tax Credits, refunds. Families in need often use these credits to pay for necessities, much needed home repairs, vehicles, and in some cases, to obtain additional education or training to increase their employment opportunities and increase earnings. Some research indicates that children and families receiving the tax credits do better in school, have a better likelihood that they will attend college, and seek to earn higher wages as adults. Many programs for low-income families provide education on and connections to these tax credits. EITC can be complex. It varies by income, family size, and filing status. Typically, each year, only about 4 of 5 people eligible for the EITC claim it. EITC and the Child Tax Credit, also known as CTC, greatly reduce poverty for working families. These credits have lifted an estimated 9.4 million people out of poverty. Many states and municipalities also operate state tax credit and subsidy programs that can enhance the benefits associated with federal credits. However, many families do not know they are eligible for a tax credit or how to leverage it. During today's webinar, you're going to hear from 3 state and local programs from Maryland, New Jersey, and St. Louis, Missouri. They're going to talk to you about their organizations, services, programs, and their information sharing on tax credits. In particular, the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Care Tax Credit with low income. Working families, TANF agencies, and other social service agencies and organizations can then leverage these methods to support the families they work with. After you hear from the 3 presenters, we're going to also provide you with some links to the IRS and its website, EIT Central, for some marketing, partnering, and informational resources, hyperlinks, and downloadable customizable materials for your use in your individual state or local area. It is our hope that during today's webinar that you will understand the roles of tax credits such as the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit, identify some strategies to maintain leverage and strengthen these tax credits to benefit working families, explore lessons learned and understand different methods of communication and information dissemination, and raising awareness around EITC and CTC. During the webinar, there will also be a series of polling questions that will automatically appear on your screen. Please answer each by clicking on the radio button next to your selected response. Doing so will not only help us guide the discussion, but will also share some additional information that may inform our practice. So I will now turn it over to Steve McLean from BLH, who will talk to you about some of the how to navigate through the webinar.
Thanks, James. We want this to be an interactive webinar, so we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to submit comments and questions using the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. You can submit a question at any time to any of the presenters that we have featured today. If you have a specific question for a presenter, please mention that in your submission. If your question is for all of the speakers, that's fine as well. And we will collect those questions and provide responses to all inquiries during a Q&A session later in the webinar. As James mentioned, we'll have some polls that will actually appear on your screen. This is a sample of what they will look like to get your input on some questions that will guide our discussion. So I think we will start with the initial poll. And I think that's the first poll question, James?
Yes. As promised, there is your first polling question before us, and it reads, how familiar are you with the tax credits available to low-income families and their eligibility requirements? And your selections, and we'll give you a few moments to respond.
All right. So for the first poll, it looks like somewhat familiar is the top response, and then followed by somewhat unfamiliar. So it seems to be a good balance. Let's go into the second poll.
Okay. Second poll question. How would you rate your clients' familiarity with the tax credits available to them?
And it looks like we have a tie between somewhat familiar and somewhat unfamiliar. So a good balance of folks in the audience. And hopefully this particular webinar will help answer some of those questions.
Thank you, Steve. And just as another quick reminder, throughout the webinar, you will have an opportunity to ask questions by using the chat box in the bottom left corner of your screen. If you have a question that is for a specific panelist, please be sure to specify that. If we don't get a chance to get to your question during the webinar or Q&A session that will appear towards the end of the webinar, we will also provide a transcript and audio recording of today's webinar within a few weeks, and that will be accessible through our PeerTA website. So our first presenter is Sarah Johnson, who is the co-founder and COO of CASH Campaign of Maryland. CASH Campaign of Maryland is a nonprofit that improves the financial security of low-income Marylanders and is a result of a recent merger between the Baltimore CASH Campaign and the Maryland CASH Campaign. CASH and its statewide network of partners annually prepares about 22,000 free tax returns, bringing in about $30 million in tax refunds to low-income taxpayers. It also provides free financial education and coaching to over 7,000 residents and conducts advocacy on state and federal policies. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sarah Johnson.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. If you want to advance to the next slide, thank you much for the introduction and a quick overview of our mission. It's there for you to take a look at. But I want to talk a little bit about how we implement this mission. And if you'll go to the next slide, I'll walk through that a little bit. So as mentioned, we work as a coalition. We have partners around the state, and Maryland is a very diverse state in terms of having very dense metro areas and then very rural communities. And so how we implement our work really relies on partners, both nonprofit partners, government partners, faith-based institutions. We really work with a variety of folks. Just to give you a sense of things, out in Allegheny County, we have a partner that does free tax preparation at Billy's Gas and Grub. So we have a wide range of folks that we work with. At the core, you see in this right here is working with clients. And so we have a variety of direct service programs that we provide, one of which is free tax preparation. CASH has been doing free tax preparation as part of the VITA program, that's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, for 18 years in the Baltimore metro area. So we have a long track record of doing that work here. We also provide during the full year, we also do financial education and financial coaching, and then we also provide benefit screening. So we use a proprietary system to screen residents and tax clients for eligibility for other benefits they might be eligible for, and provide case management to get them connected to those services. We do a variety of other sort of special projects, working with youth in foster care, working with older adults, working around banking access. So we do a variety of direct service programs and sort of special projects outside of tax season. The second ring there is around providers. And so another really big part of our work is making sure that we are training practitioners. What we've heard is that there's a lot of people in this field, a lot of direct service workers that need help understanding how to deliver the content. We have a lot of interest from government agencies and other social service providers that are really interested in how they integrate financial capability services. So be it tax preparation, be it marketing and outreach about these services, or delivering financial coaching or financial education. People want help and support and training around how to integrate this into their programs. The other piece of work that we think is really important is policy. So we have a large presence in Annapolis, and then so located to DC. We do get up to Capitol Hill from time to time to meet with our legislators as well, to talk about ways to expand the earned income tax credit. We advocate to create pools of funding that can help us support us to do outreach and to really support our partners to also implement the work. So we really operate on both the macro, meso, and level here in Maryland, trying to provide services to low and moderate income families in our communities. Next slide, please. So this is just a little bit of data around what the economic impact of the earned income tax credit looks like in Maryland. So over 425,000 households benefit from the earned income tax credit each year. Now that's a big number, and we know that that's also a big economic multiplier effect. It really lifts about 115,000 Marylanders out of poverty by receiving either the earned income tax credit or the child tax credit, and we know that's about 58,000 children each year. So this is a really important tax credit. Tax season and the tax moment is a really important opportunity to work with our families one-on-one to make sure that they're receiving all of their refund and getting some support on what to do with those refunds to plan for the future. And I'll be talking about that in a few minutes. We know that increasing access to the earned income tax credit and increasing people's access to free tax preparation it reduced their need for TANF over long periods of time, which certainly is a goal for all of us to help people gain access to employment and stay out of poverty. The economic multiplier effect we know is really important, and this is one of those talking points I love to talk with elected officials and funders about. So for every $1 of earned income tax credit ongoing, the return is $1.24 back into the community. And the reason why is because people are spending those dollars in the local community to buy groceries, to pay bills, to pay rent. So we know that this economic multiplier effect of people's refunds is really critical to our local economy. This work has increased Maryland's economy by over $931 million. To give folks a perspective of what this looks like in Baltimore, an average family in the Baltimore area receives about $2,444 in the federal earned income tax credit. In addition to this, Maryland is very fortunate that we have a refundable state credit that tracks with the federal. So it's about 28% of the federal state EITC as well. So we have both a refundable state credit and federal credit that families here and individuals here in Baltimore can take advantage of. Despite this important tax credit, we know there's about 25% of households who are entitled to the earned income tax credit but are not claiming the credit. And we estimate that's about $50 million of unclaimed federal EITC here in Baltimore City alone in our metro area. That's a big amount of money to leave on the table and not have coming into our communities and households. And so our work in terms of outreach through mainstream media, through social networks, and just sort of being up every day to do this work in partnership with folks around the city and the state is to make sure we're getting the word out so people know about this important service. Next slide. So I just want to talk quickly about what we're doing on the policy front. So last year we had a very big win in Annapolis, our state capital, where we actually eliminated the age restriction for individuals to claim the Maryland Earned Income Tax Credit. So this means that 40,000 more eligible filers will be able to receive the state credit here in Maryland. So these are folks that the age requirement was tracking with federal, so you had to be 25 years or older to receive the Earned Income Tax Credit if you were had no dependents. And we just felt like this was pretty antiquated. We know a lot of or youth who are transitioning out of foster care, or folks who just might be living independently at 18, going to college, 19 years old, who might be working as well and supporting themselves. We don't want to just get older before you are eligible for this tax credit. We know that they're working really hard. And so by eliminating that age requirement, we're able to get more people connected to the tax credit. Sadly, the tax credit is worth about 71 whopping dollars for people with no dependents. So that credit is not going to lift people out of poverty for more than about 10 minutes, perhaps. It's really not a huge amount of tax credit that they're receiving. And so our work in 2019 is to go back to the legislature and say, let's make work pay for our single filers. So we're going to be doing that in Annapolis this year. We have a bill hearing next week, really excited to try and lift that credit up to the maximum of $519 for someone, a single filer. And again, these are people who are often struggling to make ends meet. They could be transitioning out of foster care or just need that extra support as they're re-entering the workforce for a variety of reasons. Next slide. So quickly about our results, this was sort of mentioned at the introduction, but I just want to talk quickly about the scope of the work that we're doing here in Maryland. Last year, we served over 22,000 households. So that means we did both a federal and state return for them, so that's a big number. We recruit, train, and IRS certify over 715 volunteers every year to do tax preparation. So this is a workforce for us, a huge lifeblood into our program to be able to deliver free tax preparation services. That's about 38,000 hours in volunteer time, which is really significant. And again, about almost $35 million in federal and state refunds. We estimate that saved taxpayers about $4 million in fees saved. So we use some estimations around what people pay in their local communities for a paid return, and then back into that $4 million number. So statewide, we have about 45 sites. These are sites that we run directly or sites that our partners run, and we have a role in supporting them to do that. And that covers about 19 of the 26 counties here in Maryland. So we've got a ways to go still to expand our work fully statewide. Next slide. So this just looks quickly at some of the other services that we provide both during tax season and beyond. So we do financial education, financial coaching, and then again, we have a core of volunteers that we work with around helping us deliver financial capability services. So these are financial coaches and financial educators. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about I mentioned how we do free tax preparation, that we're doing it, and we're doing it for a lot of families. But I think, our name stands for assets, savings, and hope. And one of the important things we want to do is really maximize this moment of tax time, because it really is a natural opportunity for us to talk with our individuals and families that are coming to our tax sites about other services they may qualify for, or about how they can save some of that refund. So training is a big piece of this. We spend a lot of time training community resource navigators. So these are folks who work at our tax sites and work with the people who come in to get their taxes done to let them know that there's other things they can take advantage of. So they let them know about opportunities to open up a bank account and take advantage of direct deposit. They let them know about benefit screening. They make sure to let them know that there are going to be tax credits they could be eligible for, and make sure they've got all their documents in order before they have their taxes done. They help us with a lot of the outreach as well into the communities, into the neighborhoods, letting people know about the service and the tax credits. We do a lot to train our tax volunteers. Tax volunteers are a wonderful, unique breed of volunteers. I think you have to be in order to show up in the dead of winter on a Saturday to learn about tax law. So these are really unique volunteers. We love them dearly. But they really want to do taxes. So we have to really incorporate into that training how they relate to people and talk with people about other opportunities to save or other resources that might be available to them. And then during tax season and beyond, we're really working closely with our partners. We are meeting with them to talk about making sure that they're offering savings opportunities, make sure that they're promoting and offering free tax preparation for people outside of tax season if they have prior year returns, and also making sure that they are talking to people about other opportunities to save and take advantage of direct deposit. I know it may sound simple to say we work with our partners, but there's a lot of partners that have a lot of pushback that just say, our clients won't save, or they don't save, or they don't want to take advantage of these services. So it does take some educating and I think a little bit of nudging to make sure that we have a real diverse group of partners in our network that are providing this services, even if that service is just outreach, even if they're not providing just the direct service. So the other piece of work that we spend time on is thinking about the financial products that are offered during tax time. It does take a lot of work to identify the right products at tax time to connect people to. Some products have a lot of high fees. Some of the barriers just to integrating at tax time can have a lot of challenges. So we spend a lot of time working with financial institutions, both locally and nationally, to identify sets of products that really work at tax time. We are still working to get as good as we can on the referral process in the tax moment. I think the instinct is often to package as much as you can in the moment of tax season, because it's such it's a moment where people have so many documents with them. They're ready to go and doing lots of different things. So we've tried FAFSA, we've tried credit counseling, we've tried homeowner education. There's lots of like to package with tax season, but I think we've tried to stick to this sort of basic list of referrals for our clients. So making sure they're connected really quickly to benefit screening if they don't know they're eligible for that. A lot of people who are working don't understand that they might also be eligible for SNAP or for energy assistance, other income supports that could really help them make ends meet. People often at tax time start thinking about a financial goal, and financial coaching is a perfect opportunity for that. So this is where we match people one-on-one with someone who's trained as a financial coach to help them set a goal and come up with strategies to meet that financial goal. We do a lot of referral to credit counseling, and then we have some accredited financial counselors on staff too that can help with financial crisis. And then we also have financial education classes, housing and legal resources that are available at tax time. Next slide. So this is just a visual of what some of the products are, and I'll quickly go through the couple. So these are the things we connect people to during tax season. Next slide, please. So one of the things we've tried to make fun is saving. We know that saving is not the most fun thing for people to do all the time, but what we've tried to do is really make it experience that gives people a type of incentive. So if people save during tax time, and one way they can do that is through purchasing a U.S. savings bond. So that's as little as $50 that people can set aside to purchase during tax time. It's a unique opportunity because you actually get a paper bond still, which only happens during tax time if you buy it through the tax form, Form 8888 to split the refund. And so $50 is kind of a low bar when people are getting several $1,000s back. We find it's a easy sell, if you will, to connect people to purchase a savings bond. It's has a good reputation in terms of being a safe product, and people can also buy them as a gift. So they can buy them for a grandchild, for a parent, for a guardian, and put it in their name to get it back. So one way we incentivize is really to give people an opportunity to win and make it fun. So we have branded scratch-off tickets where people can instantly win something. We've used raffle rules to make sure we're compliant with all that good stuff. Just trying to create excitement is really important to get people to save. Next slide. We also participate with the National Save Your Refund. So this is where if people do have an opportunity to save, they can also get entered into win a drawing. So they've got a weekly drawing, and then they've got a sort of end of the tax season drawing for cash prizes where people are celebrated for saving. And we participate in that, that National Save Your Refund promotion as well. Next slide. And then we also have the refund raffle. So we have these wheels you can see here in the image where people, if they decide to save, they can spin the wheel. It makes a big clicking noise, gets a lot of attention, and you'd be surprised how excited people get about getting to spin that wheel and win a prize. And so the whole point of this is let's make saving fun. Let's reward people for doing things that are not always the most comfortable to do or most fun to do, to set a little of that money aside. And it gives the volunteers and the people who are delivering the tax preparation service an opportunity to say to people, not only are you going to win, but like this is also something that we know you can do, and it normalizes it in the tax moment for people to be able to get connected to these services. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about how we've been working with social service organizations around our EITC outreach and financial education in general. So as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, we've been doing some training with financial, with practitioners. We get these requests a lot. And in particular, I've been working with American Job Centers, so all of the workforce centers around Maryland. Right now, we're conducting training for all the frontline staff, all the job specialists who are working with people around employment and unemployment, to be able to be competent around issues of credit, budgeting, debt, and then some special training where needed to make sure that they have those skills. And part of what we're also training them on is how to talk with people about tax credits. So how to make sure we're making sure they feel comfortable in understanding what the earned income tax credit is, what the child tax credit are, and making sure people understand what the basic qualifications are and where they can go to get free help in their communities. We also work with people who are providing TANF services. So these could be, and I know in the Baltimore area, a lot of these organizations are contracted groups. And so we've gone in to provide financial education training for their workforce, but then also are hired from time to time to come in and deliver it as well. And so part of the outreach that we're doing there to people who are on TANF is information about tax credits and about how they can take advantage of that, and how they that into their income, into their wages, and what the future can be like for them as they're getting jobs. We work really closely with the University of Maryland School of Social Work. We have been at the table to start what's called the Financial Social Work Initiative. It's been going on for 10 years now, where we're really working to integrate the competence around finances, personal finance and beyond, into the curriculum with master's students who are getting their master's degree through the University of Maryland. We have continuing education classes we offer for people who've already graduated, and then we also have credit classes that are being offered at the university. And then we also are in our second round of a financial social work certification class, where social workers can come and get certified in some of this content and work. And so these are people who are in clinical practice, but a lot of them are in social service agencies from around the state that are coming to get this information. And again, part of the training and work that we're doing is educating people about not just about how to create a budget, but what does it look like when you have these tax credits and when you have these other income supports factored in, and about how to make sure you're getting connected to free resources like VITA programs like ours. Next slide. So lessons learned and tips. So again, tax time is a natural moment to talk with people about their finances, but it really takes a lot of training and effort to get all your partners on board, I think, to make sure that folks are delivering the message all the time. We think that it's really important to make saving fun, so that it's easy for volunteers to talk with people about saving, because that can feel a little uncomfortable, and also to really just make it something that is enjoyable for people to do during tax season. So in terms of the practitioners, these are again, job developers, social workers, caseworkers, they really need the support and financial education to work with their clients. They often feel really uncomfortable. They have their own financial challenges often. What we know is a lot of the practitioners, direct service workers, are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being in the same shoes as their client. And so they often don't have very good financial knowledge either. And so what can we do to boost their knowledge around and their confidence around financial content? But then how do we help support them to have those conversations around finances with them in the moment? And finally, the drum that we keep beating here at the Cash Campaign is that this work around, this sort of broader work around financial capability needs to be integrated into the day-to-day program work that's happening. This is not the cherry on top. This is an extra. We find a lot of programs just sort of think about this work as oh yeah, on their way out the door, let's make sure we give them a budget template. And we know that that's just not how people learn, and that's not how this work is delivered best. And so whether it's EITC outreach, whether it's talking with people about budgets and finance, it needs to be integrated every step of the way in real teachable, practical moments into programs. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. And so before our next presenter, we're going to bring you 2 more polling questions. And the third polling question shows before you on the screen. What do you think is the average EITC a family with children receives? I'll give you a few seconds to respond to that one before we move to the next. Steve, are you there? Or
Yes. Hi, James. I think the most popular answer was the second one, around 2,300. But I think you have the correct answer in your.
The correct answer is actually 3176, which only so far about 29% of you responded to that one. So we'll go ahead and move to our 4th polling question, which will show up on your screen shortly, and it will read, what do you think is the average EITC an individual or family without children receives?
All right, this is a close one between A and B. It looks like there's a tie.
Yes. So actually, the answer to that one is the first one, which is $295.
All right, not bad.
Yep. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I'm saying the correct answer is getting closer and closer. I think we're getting smarter as the webinar goes on.
Yes. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead now, and I'm going to introduce to you guys our next presenter, who is Gloria Aftansky, who is the President and Chief Professional Officer with United Way of Central Jersey. United Way helps families to become stable and financially independent by supporting basic needs like emergency food distribution, while increasing financial education, helping hardworking people obtain job training and family-sustaining wages, and increasing affordable housing. United Way of Central Jersey has a direct impact on the financial stability of low-income families by working with the volunteers and other partners to generate immediate benefits that save money and increase income for their neighbors in the Central Jersey community. Ladies and gentlemen, Gloria Aftansky.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for making the time to participate in this afternoon's webinar. I would like to just set the stage for my remarks. Sarah spoke about a statewide initiative, and I'm going to focus on a very small community. Our service area is about 830,000 individuals, and we're focusing in for the 2018 tax preparation season on very specific communities of low income and vulnerable residents. So I'd like to begin by just providing a bit of background information about the United Way network. We are approximately 1,100 local United Ways throughout the United States. Each of us are an independent, tax-exempt organization, and we are all dues-paying members in good standing of United Way worldwide. We are required on an annual basis to have our Board of Trustees review and attest to about 50 membership criteria required by United Way worldwide that covers such standards as governance, financial accountability, diversity and inclusion, codes of ethics, and branding. And as a network, we've transitioned ourselves from categorizing ourselves based on total funds raised in our annual United Way workplace campaigns to organizations that really are impacting individuals who live or work in our service areas, in our local communities. We're impacting, we're changing lives under the broad goals of education, health, and financial stability. Now, within the state of New Jersey, there are 11 local United Ways. Each of us are involved in the VITA initiative. Each has our own unique service delivery methodology. And as an objective, we are eventually planning on submitting a proposal for a more unified statewide initiative. United Way of Central Jersey, as our name suggests, is in the central portion of the state. We're home to Rutgers University and Johnson & Johnson World Headquarters. Our service area is quite diverse, with increasing percentages of Asian and Latino residents, each of which far outnumbers our African American population. And we're also a community of very high residents without legal status, which presents very, very unique challenges. Next slide, please, Steve. Okay, we can skip on to the next one, Steve. Our mission at United Way of Central Jersey is very simple, to create opportunities for a better life for individuals living or working in our community who are needy, at risk, and vulnerable. And since 2008, when we started our VITA initiative, we also have our board, had our board agreed to concentrate our financial and time investments on preventive, evidence-based services for children ages 0 to 5 and their families. And you can move on to the next slide. And these are examples of our three primary evidence-based programs targeting children prenatally through age 3. And then with our Abriendo Puertas program, it's a 10-series workshop for low-income Latino families, helping them with basic life skills, including financial literacy and becoming advocates for their children within the academic environment, medical environment, and social service environment. Next slide. Everyone is probably aware of the income guidelines and the fact that we have at minimum IRS certified tax preparers at the beginning level, at the entry level. Next slide. We started our Middlesex County, New Jersey VITA program in 2008, as the slide depicts, with 3 volunteers who prepared about 13 tax returns. We've since then assumed leadership of our Middlesex County VITA Coalition, and you'll see a slide about identifying the members of our coalition. And we're very pleased with the fact that because we have such a growing undocumented population within our service area, we now have 6 of our tax preparers who are certified to prepare the ITIN applications. And you'll hear a little bit later on in the presentation, we are concentrating on 2 communities, New Brunswick and Perth Amboy, which are have very high undocumented populations. And we've been offering ITIN application workshops for the undocumented. Our challenge is that in the 3 or 4 that we've scheduled so far, attendance has been very low. 1 or 2 individuals presenting themselves for the ITIN information workshops, again, likely due to the current climate. Next slide, Steve. These are our VITA Coalition metrics for the past 3 years, and we're very pleased to report that for the 2017 tax year, we had about $3,450,000 in total refunds, which is an increase from our 2015 year. 2016 was somewhere in the middle. And you can see the breakout between the actual tax refunds, EITC, and child tax credits. Next slide. So for 2017, we estimate that our tax filers saved a little under $560,000 in tax preparation fees, and we also launched our 2nd year of our tax saving initiative. The first year, 2016 tax preparation season, we only had 3 or 4 individuals who agreed to save a portion of their refund. And during this past cycle, we had 78 individuals who agreed to set aside a part of their refund for future tax use. And how we approached the savings portion of the tax moment, as Sarah has described it, is we sit with the tax filer, we show them the amount of the basic refund, and then we explain to them that in addition, you're getting the EITC and you're getting the child tax credit. So it's important that you consider saving a portion of your unanticipated refunds. And a little later in the webinar, you'll see examples of how we're encouraging individuals to save a portion of their refund. So total savings to tax filers was $636,000 during the 2017 tax filing season. Next slide will show you our coalition members at present. We're very, very pleased with the support that we're receiving from the office of Mayor Wilda Diaz in Perth Amboy. She's been a champion for not only the regular tax preparation, but also outreaching to the undocumented to inform them of the benefits of obtaining the ITIN certification. As with most tax preparation sites, if you go to the next slide, we do the face-to-face, the drop-off or valet service, facilitated self-assisted, and we also have an increasing number of events. Again, focusing on Perth Amboy, we outreached to the principal of the Perth Amboy Adult High School over the summer, which has a population of 500 students. And we've arranged for a series of drop-off days at that adult high school for all of the 500 students. So they've all received their information packets with all the information that they need to bring to the drop-off. We've scheduled the drop-off event, and when they drop off, they'll be informed of the date and time for their pickup and review of the completed return. Next slide. So we spent most of the summer July, August, and into September, really outreaching to our community nonprofit partners, our government agencies in the city of Perth Amboy and the city of New Brunswick. Again, a very diverse population, very limited access to low-income tax preparation prior to the presence of the VITA Coalition. And you'll actually see in light green highlighted the Perth Amboy community, which is a lovely waterfront community, very densely populated, with very, very low income, underemployed, low income residents. The next slide will show you some information about New Brunswick, which is located at the opposite end of the county. Also very, very highly populated with low-income individuals as well as undocumented. Both New Brunswick and Perth Amboy are highlighted also for increasing numbers of ICE detentions. And as part of our research on New Brunswick and Perth Amboy, we partnered with the New York Federal Reserve Bank, who was doing bank audits on both communities and the banking institution's community reinvestment opportunities. And so we spent time actually looking at the number of persons living in poverty in both communities. And I don't know if the audience is familiar with the ALICE research. ALICE is an acronym for asset limited, income constrained, but employed individuals living among us, among our various communities and neighborhoods. It's an initiative of United Ways of New Jersey that's led by United Way of Northern New Jersey. And there are ALICE reports for 16 states right now, 16 of our 50 states, that will give you information about the ALICE residents of each state, of each county, and then the percentage of ALICE residents in each municipality in each of those 16 ALICE reports. And for the state of New Jersey, ALICE has calculated out what they're calling a survival budget. And the survival budget for a single adult in the state is about $24,000, a little over $24,000 for a single individual, and for the family of four, it's about $71,000. And the ALICE survival budgets in both New Brunswick and Perth Amboy are significantly lower than the state. But as an example, in Middlesex County, a survival budget for a family of four, and this is basic necessities, housing, food, transportation, medical care, is about it requires a wage of about $35 an hour. And as those of us who are preparing low-income tax returns, the fact that a low-income tax client would be making $35.50 an hour is quite limited. So we spend a lot of time educating our community nonprofit partners about the importance of communicating with the clients that they come in contact with on a regular basis as to the availability of the free tax preparation service. If you go on to the next slide, it'll just give you some additional information about our two concentrated communities, New Brunswick and Perth Amboy, who rank very highly among the state communities that have the number of households below the ALICE threshold. And within Middlesex County, New Brunswick and Perth Amboy rank number 1 and 2. The next slide will show you in both New Brunswick and Perth Amboy the number of low-income returns prepared in those two communities by a paid preparer. And using an average of $200 per paid return, you can see already income-constrained households are paying a substantial amount of money to have their taxes returned. And in these two communities, we're not just talking about the commercial, the usual tax preparers. We also have notaries within the state of New Jersey that are preparing tax returns for individuals, and we don't know whether or not the notaries are totally familiar with the availability and eligibility requirements for both EITC and the child tax credit. So that's a marketing initiative that we're currently involved in. Another issue that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention is the amount of low-income individuals who are availing themselves of the refund anticipation loans. And within the state of within the communities of both New Brunswick and Perth Amboy, there has been a tremendous increase in the number of refund anticipation loans. Based on the data from our 2015 tax preparation season prepared by our IRS spec representative, there were a little over 12,000 refund anticipation loans processed in New Brunswick, and in the city of Perth Amboy, a little under 4,500. And I'd like to share an example. We had a client, a young woman, come to us to file an amended return within the last 2 weeks. It was she had her W-2, and she had 3 1099s. It was a very simple return, and she had paid $480 to one of the paid preparers to have her return prepared. She was entitled to a total refund of $6,000, but she requested the refund anticipation loan, and she was charged $2,000, so the actual refund that she received was $4,000. So again, we have an education campaign among our 2 target cities, among our nonprofit partners, to promote the availability of the VITA tax preparation service. As I mentioned, we did spend most of the summer outreaching to our nonprofit partners in both communities. It was an interesting exercise because some of our colleagues that have been working in major nonprofit organizations for many, many years had limited or no knowledge of the VITA opportunity for their clients. We had challenges in outreaching to some of our municipal organizations, but we're overcoming those challenges as well. If you go to the next slide, you'll see some of our direct marketing outreach efforts. We did have a suggestion submitted to us by our Child Care Resource and Referral Organization, who requested a banner, a large banner, be placed on the outside of their building that said, get your refund early, free tax preparation on site here. And we're doing several events for families of children who are receiving the child care subsidy at our Child Care Resource and Referral Agency. We also have a banner on the outside of our United Way building, get your taxes done for free here. And we have banners in some of our other VITA regular appointment locations. We are not promoting EITC and the child tax credit on our promotional materials. Our objective is to increase the number of low-income tax filers who are availing themselves of the free tax preparation service. And as Sarah had mentioned, at the tax moment, when we're sharing the results of their return and review with them their regular government IRS refund, it's then that we introduce the additional unanticipated refunds that they're receiving, and we encourage them to save a portion of that refund. So you see, we've really more aggressively outreached. We have a taxathon scheduled in Perth Amboy on Saturday. We have another one scheduled in New Brunswick later in the month, and our goal is to produce a minimum of 100 tax returns on that particular day. If you go to the next slide, you'll see some of our flyers. We had our, you see one of our ITIN workshop, Perth Amboy flyers. You see the Perth Amboy taxathon flyer. You'll see on the next page, flyers promoting savings and again, get your refund fast, which is of great interest to our low income filers. And on the next slide, you'll see an initiative that we started during the tax season, the 2017 season. For each of the tax clients at our United Way tax preparation location who agreed, each of the 78 who agreed to save a portion of their refund, we asked them to write down what they were saving for on one of the little piggy bank slips. And so we have a large bulletin board in our tax waiting room with all of this information. And then you can see on the right-hand side the tax client saving for her daughter's education. And then finally, you'll see a snapshot of the larger board with all of the tax savings notations. And you'll see my contact information, Charmaine, who's the director of our VITA program, her contact information, and then our website and other methods to communicate with us. I'd be happy to share any additional information with anyone if you'd like to email me or contact us via the phone, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Gloria. So we're going to go ahead and move right into our next presenter, who is Vina Stevens. She is the Program Director of Asset Building and Outreach at the Gateway EITC Community Coalition of St. Louis. The Gateway EITC Community Coalition provides free federal and state tax preparation services for individuals and families earning under $54,000 annually. They are a volunteer income tax assistance VITA program serving low to moderate income families and individuals, seniors, persons with disabilities, and limited English-speaking taxpayers who need assistance preparing their own tax returns. Ladies and gentlemen, Vina Stevens.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's warm today. I'll just jump right in with start with sharing our mission, which is to increase the financial security of low to moderate income families by providing free tax preparation services and promoting the use of tax refunds for saving and asset building. GECC has been providing income tax preparation for low-income families in the St. Louis area since 2002, with more than 88,000 in federal returns prepared over 16 tax seasons, resulting in more than 99 million in refunds for the St. Louis area. Our first tax season, we prepared only 301 federal returns. We've grown quite a bit since then. Last year, our volunteers prepared 8,842 federal returns, as well as over 9,000 state returns. This resulted in more than 9.1 million in federal refunds for low-income households and nearly 2.3 million saved in preparation fees. Next slide, please. GECC provides free tax preparation services to low-income families in the St. Louis area. We promote the use of tax refunds for saving and asset building. We also try to improve the access to mainstream financial products and services by offering things such as low-cost, low-risk bank accounts and credit counseling at our tax sites. I'm getting an echo. I hope nobody else is getting that echo. And we.
You sound fine, Rena.
Okay, great. And we provide education and outreach around free tax preparation, tax credits, and predatory tax preparation products and services. Next slide, please. From the end of January through middle April, GECC offers free tax preparation services at Saturday walk-in sites, as well as weekday appointment sites. All sites are located in areas where we've done demographic studies and identified through census data as having high concentrations of low-income households. Last year, the average AGI of our clients was $21,732 per household. We have a lot of partner agencies that we work with. We partner with AARP to provide in-home services to people who are unable to get to one of our sites due to illness or disability. We're the only free tax preparation program in the St. Louis area that offers specialized services for the hearing impaired. Last year, we were able to staff 4 of our sites with American Sign Language interpreters on 2 different weekends. We also prepare a lot of Missouri property tax credit claims. The Missouri property tax credit is a state credit for low-income renters or homeowners who are over 65 or disabled. The credit can be up to $750 for renters and $1,100 for homeowners. This credit was designed by the state of Missouri to help low-income people on fixed incomes, help them be able to stay in their homes, even if their rent is being increased and their real estate property taxes are increasing. Finally, people who need tax preparation services after tax season can call to make an appointment. Most of these are taxpayers who have special circumstances or need to have amendments or prior year returns prepared. I just had a lady literally yesterday. She needed to have her 2017 taxes prepared because her daughter was not going to be able to get the financial aid for a specialized elementary school that she goes to. So it's always something like that. Next slide, please. GECC promotes the use of tax refunds for saving and asset building. For most of our clients, as you all know, their tax refunds is going to be the largest lump sum of money they will have all year. And a lot of times we find people come in and they end up having a larger refund than they were expecting. And so it's especially important then for us to try to provide them with education and resources to help them make more informed decisions with their refund money, especially if they end up getting a larger refund than what they were expecting. We encourage clients to take advantage of direct deposit. All of our volunteers explain the benefits of direct deposit to all taxpayers who don't initially choose to have the refund directly deposited into an existing account. We find that a lot of times it's just a lack of information on their part, the reasons why they're not choosing direct deposit. Often we find that once we've explained it to them, they're really more happy to take advantage of direct deposit. Refund splitting is suggested and explained to all clients who have accounts as a way to start an emergency fund or increase existing savings. And then, of course, I think it was Sarah that mentioned we also do the Save Your Refund sweepstakes, so that helps us encourage people to do, splitting the refund and helps us kind of explain to them, what it is, and makes. I feel like the Save Your Refund sweepstakes helps our volunteers kind of enter into a conversation with our clients around savings. So it kind of helps some of our volunteers who maybe aren't as comfortable with it otherwise. It helps them be able to enter into that conversation. We promote the purchase of Series I savings bonds to all taxpayers getting a refund. Taxpayers can receive some or all of the refund in the form of U.S. Series I savings bonds. Bonds can also be purchased for a third party, so we always suggest, to people, hey, you've got kids, grandkids, a $50 savings bond is a great stocking stuffer. Also, starting at $50, this can be a really inexpensive, easy, safe way for people to start investing. And it's also a way for people who don't have a bank account or any other sort of financial, relationship with a financial institution at all. They can still start saving. And GECC was actually part of a 2-year pilot program that we participated in before the savings bonds were put on there as an option on the tax return. We also provide information about the Missouri 529 college savings plans to all clients with children. The Missouri 529 is our state-sponsored college plan that has a lot of benefits, and it's got federal tax benefits and state tax benefits. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, we're a very small organization, and our ability to increase access to mainstream financial products fluctuates from year to year because we're reliant upon these services, with our partners, and sometimes they're, lower on staffing, lower on resources. So some years we're definitely more successful at this than others. We do partner with financial institutions to provide low-cost, low-risk bank accounts at all of our Saturday sites, ideally all of our Saturday sites. This allows the taxpayers to open a bank account and receive a number to use on their tax return right then, so the refund can be directly deposited. We also make sure that we have second chance bank accounts available for clients who have had problems with the banking system in the past. These accounts are more restrictive and make it much more difficult to get into trouble in the first place. These accounts generally have the option of being upgraded to a more traditional account after a year if the client, is successful and doesn't have any problems. PNC Bank has been one of our best partners. They provide us with a check cashing letter that allows our clients without bank accounts to cash their federal and state refund checks for free at any local PNC bank branch. And I just feel like that's one thing that's really, really good for our clients that don't have a bank account and either are not interested in having one or for whatever reason aren't able to have one. This keeps them out of the check cashing places. We also try to help people take advantage of the time that they spend waiting, because unfortunately there is a wait time. Usually we do have a line at our sites and that kind of thing, but we try to help them make good use of the time that they spend waiting by providing additional services such as credit reports, credit counseling, budgeting. We partner with, again, financial institutions and nonprofit organizations that will pull credit reports for our clients for free while they wait. Then this includes a short counseling session to explain the score and help recommend initial steps. Usually there's something that they can, at least one small step that they can recommend for the client to do to help them start moving towards a better credit score. Clients can also take advantage of one-on-one budgeting sessions with usually trained staff, but sometimes it's trained volunteers from other nonprofits. And that seems to be a really good, because, unfortunately they are there for a little while, and it does help people to be able to sit down and have a one-on-one session, with somebody who has training and can help them, figure some of this stuff out. Next slide, please. Other agencies serving low-income households often ask us to provide financial education to their clients and staff, and that, because I feel like one of our biggest problems is getting the information out, that because it seems like we're missing more people than we're serving, as far as people who are eligible for our services. During these sessions, we provide information. We talk about define what a tax credit is, because often people, start at the basics. They don't know what a tax credit is, and help them understand that that's not weird and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And we explain what a tax credit is and go into talking about the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit and some of the things that they need to, some of the situations that allow them to be, qualified for that. We also talk about some of the more commonly used credits, such as education credits and child independent care credit. And then we always conclude with information on how to recognize and avoid predatory tax products and services. Missouri is really, really bad about having a lot of these services, and one of the reasons is that there's something about a lot of our laws that are just make it we're really lenient on predatory financial services in general. A large portion of our outreach involves going to resource fairs and other events. A lot of our partners and churches, when they're having an event, they will invite us to have a table, and we can have our information there, and we can answer questions and just help get the information about free tax preparation and tax credits out into the community. Marketing is another part of our education and outreach activities. Again, of course, with the help of our partners, we distribute information on free tax preparation and tax credits, both in print form and electronic. It seems like every year we're going more and more towards the electronic distribution, but some people still do like those paper brochures. And we make a big push with this right before and during the first few weeks of the tax season, trying to catch people who qualify for our services before they have already paid to have their taxes done. That just, I hate to see that happen. We have a great relationship with our United Way. All calls that come into the United Way 211 helpline are screened starting about the middle of January, all the way through tax season. Everybody that calls in is screened, about whether they would benefit from our services, and have they had their taxes done? Do they need to have their taxes done? Next slide, please. So I mentioned briefly that we are a very, very small organization. We have only 2 paid staff members, and one of them is me, and I'm usually only part-time, except for during tax season. But our success really can be largely explained by our ability to collaborate with a wide range of organizations. Allows us to leverage resources, and we benefit from widespread marketing of the Earned Income Tax Credit and our free tax preparation services. It also helps all of the partner agencies avoid duplication of services. Local businesses and churches, also financial institutions, other nonprofits, they distribute our information to their employees, their members, their clients, and that helps us reach our target population. A large percentage of our volunteers are business and accounting students from local universities. These students, they benefit because they earn college credits, and they gain, of course, valuable knowledge and experience. And volunteering as an IRS trained and certified tax preparer is also really great to put on a resume. These same universities that we partner with for volunteers from their business and accounting departments, they also allow us to use their classrooms and their computer labs for our volunteer training, because we would not, if we had to go somewhere and pay to have that, to rent a room or rent a computer lab, that would just put us out of operation. This tax season, we will have 21 sites in the St. Louis area. The majority of them will be located in churches, libraries, and other nonprofits. We don't have to pay for any space, and that's what helps keep us going. Is the fact that we have so many partner agencies that even if for some reason there's a site that like we had a site that had a flood one year, and we had to switch sites the first week of tax season, and one of our other nonprofits stepped up and was able to take over that for us. So I really can't stress enough how important our relationship with other partner agencies is. And finally, I think probably the best example of this is without the free office space that we get from United Way, we would not be in operation at all. And I think that's all I have to share with you today. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Vina. So what we're going to do now is you'll see on your screen some additional resources and links that could provide you some information about EITC. For example, the main EITC Central website has a wealth of resources and information related to the Earned Income Tax Credit. It includes information on who qualifies for EITC, how to spread the message to your clients, and how to determine eligibility, and information about related credits, such as the education credits. You'll see there's a host of other links and resources listed before you. And again, this information will be provided to you on our POTA website within a few days. Additional resources coming up. Okay, so it looks like what we're going to do now is move to our question and answer session. So we'll give you an opportunity to respond to our Q&A from the audience. And Steve will guide us through the Q&A session.
Thanks, James. So we got a few questions in from the participants, so I will try to group some of them together to get as many in as possible. Also, if folks have additional questions, either from this discussion or if you didn't have a chance to submit them, please enter your questions in now and we can present them to the speakers. So the first question that we have, and I think is for all of the presenters, relates to implementation. If one of our participants was interested in implementing a program revolving around tax credits this year, what are one or two things that you as speakers might recommend that our local or state agencies do to implement a program this year? And that is for any of you who wish to respond. Gloria, Sarah.
Stephen, this is Sarah. Is that question specifically about assisting with outreach through the programs? Is that what I heard?
Or tax preparation?
Yeah, I think it was more related to the actual tax preparation programs. But I think Mark.
Yeah, so I'll just say at this point in the process, it's not feasible to open tax sites just because of needing a tax ID, at least in the Maryland area, just given that we don't have capacity for doing drop-in services. But maybe some of the other presenters can speak to being able to host drop-in tax services at local departments or through agencies. I would say one of the most important things is to help us get the word out. Making sure you're posting flyers, you're telling, making sure you're getting it out as much as you can to remind people to make appointments or to find an office near them, because this is the moment where people are getting all their forms in the mail. And there's also a lot of national marketing happening from the big box stores that are, aggressively trying to recruit people to come into their shops. So we need the help to really get the word out about these services.
Right. This is Gloria. Sarah's correct. It's important to get the word out, as much outreach in the community as possible, and encourage the individuals to make an appointment at one of the existing VITA sites. If they're asking, is there an opportunity for additional people to be trained, to be certified as VITA tax preparers? In our case, we've completed all of our training programs. We have all our sites and hours of operation scheduled. So the best advice would be to just, increase the outreach.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see, another question we had. I don't know, this was related to individuals who might be Native American tribal members. I don't know if any of you have any experience working with tribal agencies or Native American population.
We don't here in Central Jersey, Steve.
And unfortunately, we don't either here in St. Louis.
Okay, no problem. We will try to get back to that questionnaire with some additional information. Another question is related to the claiming of the EITC. Are there issues with families claiming the EITC if the household doesn't file taxes?
Well, you can't get it if you don't file.
Exactly. And that's part of our outreach, that we make sure people understand the only way to access any of these tax credits is to file your taxes. You can't get it without filing your taxes.
I think we spoke to the fact that the IRS estimates there's about 25% of the population that's not claiming the earned income tax credit, meaning they're likely not filing. So why is that? Some people may think they owe taxes, and so they think by not filing they might be avoiding their tax liability, but at the same time that also means they could be missing some valuable tax credits. Some people think they didn't earn enough in earnings to qualify, and so again to get any refund back, but they don't understand that there's additional tax credits like the EITC that they could be eligible for. So that's why some of the outreach and dispelling some of those myths is so important. And so we try and make sure people understand that this is a really important financial document that they might need so as a supporting document to get a loan, to buy a house. Having that tax information correct and filed is really important for people's financial future.
And also, we find that if you find somebody who didn't file in the past and they qualify for the earned income tax credit, they can go back up to 3 years and get back 3 years that they didn't file for. So that can be a really, really good boost when you catch somebody like that.
That's awesome. Thank you. This is related to, I guess, your earlier comments about marketing and outreach. Are there particular audiences or gaps that are in existing marketing processes that you feel could be tapped? Are there particular areas that need more outreach than others? Are there particular marketing programs that you've seen that have been very successful? I know that's kind of a bunch of questions, but I'm trying to keep them all in the realm of marketing and outreach.
So this is Gloria. So in our two target communities, it's very important that we have the outreach information in both English and Spanish. We also periodically, with some of our corporate volunteers, are out in the community delivering door hangers in designated lower income neighborhoods. And we've also this year just launched a more active presence on social media. So those are a couple suggestions.
And this is Sarah. I would say, I think having employers, one of the rules and laws in Maryland is that employers are required to notify their employees that they might be eligible for free tax preparation. So that's a law that we actually helped to pass in the state. And so that could be as easy as putting it on your pay stub. It could be as easy as hanging flyers in the break room, sending an email to all your staff. So I think getting employers and corporations on board for helping to share the word about the earned income tax credit and about free tax preparation is really important. But I just want to put it into perspective. We use a wide variety of marketing techniques in earned and paid media, a kickoff event, which we just had on Monday with Congressman Cummings and Sarbanes and other elected officials. All these things are really important. And then on the other side, we had 1,000 calls in one day on Monday for our free tax preparation services, and we're already booked through the end of February. So we book up really quickly, and I think that's part of the tension with programs, and I think I've heard that a little bit in the other presentations, is marketing and outreach is so important, and we never want to take our foot off the gas because we want to make sure people know about this work and take advantage of the credit. And the other side of this is we all are struggling to try and build capacity to serve more people. And so I think the other side of the conversation always needs to be around, yes, outreach and marketing is really important, but how are we also bringing other people into the fold to be able to help us deliver this service so that when those calls come in and when those appointments are there, we have the capacity to serve more people.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that was the last group of questions. So before I turn it over to James to close, are there any last thoughts or comments you want to make, Sarah, Gloria, or Vina, after your great presentations? Thank you. James, you want to wrap us up?
Yes, thank you, Steve. Just want to thank everyone who participated in today's webinar. Thanks again to our group of panelists, Sarah, Gloria, and Dina. Really appreciate your participation today. And especially those who joined us today as listeners, the audience. So please remember to provide your feedback on the webinar using the survey that will appear in a separate pop-up window when the webinar ends. Again, as a reminder, a transcript and audio recording of the webinar will be available shortly on the PRTA website. You will see that website listed before you on the screen now. We'd also like to hear from you about future webinar topics. So if you have topics that you'd like to hear about, please send us your ideas by email to prta@icf.com. We'd also like to expand our network and reach a greater number of people. And you can assist us by directing your colleagues from your local and state networks and agencies to our website. Please stay tuned on our PRTA website as well for information regarding future webinars. We have one coming up on the 27th of February. So please stay tuned for information about that and further details. So we look forward to your participation in future webinars. Thanks again to everyone for joining us, and you all have a pleasant remainder of the day.